Welcome to the program, Anthony Shim.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. Of course, Riceboy Sleeps. Um, it's been having a good go, I'd say. Tiff's,
It's been all right.
yeah, Tiff's Canadian top 10. The Toronto Critics Association Award. Doing quite well, doing great at festivals all over the world, and it's such a personal story. And I think personal stories are something that people connect with. People like, because that's when you break it down to the personal elements, people will find the human connection. So for people who haven't gotten a chance to check out the film yet, tell us what it's about.
Riceboy Sleeps is a semi-autobiographical film about a young Korean Canadian boy and his single mother who moved from Korea to the west coast of Canada. And the film takes place in the 90s and it spans over 10 years. And it follows their journey in acclimating to this new world, and this new culture. And as time goes on, the relationship becomes more um, troublesome.
Troublesome, sure, yeah.
And ultimately, they return back to Korea for the first time, and to uh, deal with their past troubles, and mend their relationships with their family.
Yeah. Now, of course, the one of the major parts in this film is Soo Young, and what I liked about her is that she's not just one thing. Like a lot of stories kind of just usually focus on a parent being one thing, but she's not just one thing. She's many things and she carries so much. And it's kind of like how a single parent has to in real life, has to be more things than they are equipped to be. Was it important for you to get this type of character out front and center in the film?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a character that we've seen in a lot of different films and television shows, but they're usually supporting roles. They usually have only, two dimensions to them. And so I wanted to devote an entire film on this character and this character's relationship with her son. Um, and because it's a such a familiar character to me. Um, I've been raised by Korean women and I know them to be a certain way. I know them to be complicated, uh, um, strong, warm, loving people that I've never seen depicted fully with the same kind of complexities and nuances in anything else. And so I really wanted to uh, um, highlight this character, this type of woman that I felt deserved it. And then the character is largely inspired. It's not based on, but it is inspired by my own mother. Um, and so there was obviously a lot, it meant something to me to try and do it right. Um, and so, yeah, and I think the character's great,
Oh yeah, no,
being
fantastic
well
character.
received. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like again with this film, it's got such emotion to it at the end there when she's on the hill and she's just screaming, she's letting it all out there. I've heard you talk about Han,
Yep.
that it's an emotion that really isn't properly translated into the English language. And I feel like that scene right there kind of gave us kind of a view of what that's like. But isn't it so interesting that even like I find, I'm an English speaking person. It's the only language I've ever spoken, but there's words missing sometimes for me to
Mm.
explain how I feel. And I feel that is with every language. Isn't it like I feel like you did a good job of conveying that regardless of language, there's certain emotions that can be felt even if they can't be explained.
Exactly. And that's why I did want to, uh, because it can't be described or explained verbally in a way that it truly encapsulates all the levels and elements of that word. So I thought, you know what, I'll show it. I'll let audiences experience it. So by the end, when that release comes, you know what it's rooted in. You know where it's, you know what where that's coming from, and how much is attached to it all. And so then for anyone, you don't even have to be Korean, and anyone who can just kind of follow that journey goes, oh, I can relate to what that could be like. I've experienced that, or I've seen that, or I know someone who's felt that way. And in that sense, it's, you can take a word that is so uniquely Korean and go, oh, it's a universal feeling.
Yeah.
Like, who hasn't felt like they've devoted their entire lives to something, worked so hard to just do right in the world, in their lives, and just can't catch a break. And it's like there's no other way to express it than to just scream at the top of your lungs, or want to let
Yeah.
that burning rage and sadness, and that the feeling, but at the same time, it's what drives you
Yeah.
to work harder, and to love more, and to and to fight. And that's what that word is. And so instead of making an intellectual uh, um description of it, I thought I would show it through to her story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you did a great job there. And a lot of the framing choices in this film, I think, do a really good job with the storytelling. Like when we first meet the family in Vancouver, it's all tight and hard, and there's like a lot of stuff in the frame, like very claustrophobic. When you came to Canada as a kid, did you feel that kind of claustrophobia?
Yes, and the interesting thing that the juxtaposition there is that we moved from a very small country.
Mm,
City of Seoul is it's so densely populated, and you don't have space. Like, people don't have room. You're constantly surrounded by people. Um, and then we moved to a place like Canada. We moved, at first we lived on Vancouver Island, and it was unlike anything we'd ever seen before. There
mm,
was so much space, so much land, um, the ocean, the mountains. They were, they looked gigantic, and yet um, the irony was that, at least for myself, there was so much fear of this new world that I was thrown into, um, that I wasn't. And I think it was the same thing for my parents, and it's the same thing for, I know, a lot of immigrant families, that you're not able to fully take in all that the world, your surroundings, have to offer, and you're just trying to survive, and you're trying to understand how to navigate through this new world. And for so much of it, it did feel like, I think back, and did feel like you're looking for shelter, you're looking for safety, you're looking for that security, that you know to because it's so big and scary out there, feeling like you need to shelter yourself in that way. um but then it also represents the emotional ability, or inability, to open yourself up to all that this new world has to offer you. um and you try to find that security in the things that are right in front of you. And you don't have the emotional capability to increase the capacity of what you let into your life. And so that's what motivated and informed the visual choices of the film in the first act, especially.
yeah, yeah. And then of course when we get to the third act of the film, we're back in Korea, and it's big, it's beautiful, it's lush. And I know one of the things that you said with this project starting out is that you were like, one of the things I won't budge on is it has to be shot on film. And that's again, for a independent film, that is quite almost a scary kind of thing to say, like, we're doing it this way because, again, that adds money to the budget. But of course, the film looks beautiful. What was it about film that you felt like the digital couldn't capture?
Well, firstly, I am just a huge fan of celluloid. Even photography, still photography, I take film photographs. Um, I have a bit of a I just don't like digital photography. I just don't like the way it looks. I
Right.
like I think digital photography is amazing and it has so much capability and it's so versatile. And there's a world for it. There are things that can be shot and made now, and there are things that can be viewed much better, more enjoyably because of digital photography. But when it comes to cinema and when it comes to photography for the sake of capturing a moment and creating art, I just don't like the way digital photos and movies look. Of course, there are the exceptions. There are some films. There are many films that are shot in digital photography on digital cameras that I think look incredible. But for the average film and TV, I don't like it.
Mm.
And I think a part of that too has to be like I grew up, loving movies, and they were all shot on film. And so I think there's something about the aesthetic that has been ingrained into my mind that if that I've wanted to make films and the films I wanted to make look a certain way. And I made my first film we shot it digitally because we just didn't have an option. Um, and although it looks good for what it is, I go, it's not the way I always envisioned a movie I would want to make to look. And so I figured this, I may never get to make another movie again. And so if that's the case, then at least I want to have one movie that I can at least say it looks exactly the way that I wanted it to look.
Right.
And so that's why from day one, that was something I had said, but it serves the story. It's in line with the um with the world and the time and the emotional um journey that the film has. Like the aesthetic of the 16 millimeter film, like it supported it very well. And of course, people suggested like you can always do things in post production with digital footage where you can alter to make it look like 16 millimeter. I mean, then if you're going to make that compromise, then it's like, well, then why do anything? Like, why cast real Korean people? I
Mm.
can just cast white people and put yellow face on them and then do what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
get
mean,
you,
that's
but yeah.
obviously that's an extreme example,
Yeah.
but to me, it's like there's a certain kind of movie I want to make, and I'm drawing a fine line, and if you cross that line in any way, there's no end to the compromises that you're willing to let yourself make then.
Mm.
And so that's why I said, I want to shoot on film. I'm going to shoot on 16 millimeter film, cast Korean um, people for the Korean characters, and then shoot the Korea scenes in Korea. Because I knew that there's a certain amount of authenticity and realism and a and a um and a feeling that I wanted the audience to get from just looking at the image, even without the sound. That there's a certain feeling I wanted people to have, a sense of nostalgia, sense of warmth, sense of comfort. That just like a really great painting or a photograph can evoke certain feelings in people. I wanted to do the same thing, um, and so that's why I was so adamant on it.
Right.
And as a result, I had to give up certain things.
Mm.
we had to shoot in 19 days, the entire film. You know, there were certain kinds of shots that we couldn't get because we couldn't afford them. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't, I have zero regrets.
Well, definitely. Well, the movie shows like stands for itself. It's great, and yeah, the idea of making this film, since it is a period piece, it does take place all in the '90s. That's how the films looked during the '90s, so that kind of makes sense as well. But yeah, you mentioned your first film, Daughter, and you had said that you knew nothing about how to make a movie, and that was kind of like you trial by fire. You learned how to make a movie by making Daughter. So, what were the lessons that you brought to Riceboy Sleeps?
You've been researching past interviews.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
I appreciate that. Uh, uh, it's more or less just what I was saying. I felt like on the first film, the goal I had set for myself in my mind was, let's just see if I can make a movie that has a beginning, middle, and an end, and has a coherent storyline. It wasn't, I myself didn't set out to make something really special or really daring or really, really personal to me. I mean, it was personal in a different kind of way, but I set a bar that was at a certain level for myself just because of fear. And, I didn't know. Um, I didn't have the experience. And I achieved the goal I set for myself. Funny enough. Um, and so, and in making it, after I was done, because I could watch it, I go, there are things about it that I just didn't like. There are things I just didn't think worked. But there were also moments where I thought, oh, that's good. I like that. And I know why I like that. And I know how we got it to what it is. And so ultimately the takeaway was, I would think to myself, oh, I wish I had imposed my my vision more. I was so insecure of the fact that I didn't go to film school, or I didn't make short films. I didn't have all this experience. Um, that everything I knew about cameras and editing and the technical elements of filmmaking, it was just like self-taught. And so there was so much insecurity around that I the people that brought on, I wanted so much to collaborate. I wanted it to be a collaboration, and I wanted it to be open to letting others do their thing, to the point that I didn't impose my vision enough on the film. And so I coming into this one, I thought that's the one thing I will not do. And it's not about um being a bully or being closed off to other people's ideas or being disrespectful in any way. I mean, I think it's about finding people that you connect with, that have a similar or in line with your vision, allowing them to do that thing. But it all has to be within the parameters of this very clear direction and vision that I have. And I did not want to budge on that, once again, because like I said, I thought this might be the last film I ever make. I didn't know if I'd ever get this chance again. And so I thought, if this thing fails, at least I can say I gave it my all, and it was everything that I could pour into it. And if it doesn't work, and if it doesn't succeed, then I'm just not cut out for this. And I could live with that. But I could not live with calling it quits after the first one, because I knew I had more to offer than I'd let myself. And yeah. And then on this one, I set a certain kind of goal for this film of like, I want to try and make something that can achieve this. And funny enough, I achieved just that. And so I'm going like, oh man, I should stop being so modest and be more ambitious and try to.
Yeah. Well, that's the key. Making the goal bigger every time is always
Yeah.
moving that goalpost for yourself. Totally. And again, knowing what you want and saying this is what I want, of course, is the key to success. So that's, and it's proven right there with the film and the success of the film. Of course, with the, you know, the multiple festivals and the awards it's been given. What has it been like for you to actually experience these things, like going to festivals and getting this kind of critical acclaim?
It's it's amazing in the ways that I didn't expect it to be, and the things that I thought would give me happiness didn't and doesn't. I thought to be given awards um, and complimented, and for the film to, you know, to be celebrated in some way, I thought would make me feel whole as a person or something. But I don't know. I thought I had an idea of what that would feel, what that might feel like. And to be honest, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's, you know, it's so overwhelming, but it doesn't feel real. It's hard to take that in and to let it process through my being in a way that is something I can digest and actually like put it back into my life. It's just it's just this really kind of surreal thing where I'm just kind of watching it happen, going like, cool, this is great. Like, and but 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 it's just, yeah, it's not like I'm not, you know, walking around the streets, you know, grinning year to year, you know, because like I won an award. It's no, it's but instead, what is amazing um is the way that the story has um impacted people, the way it's moved some people, some of the dialogue that I think it's created, the that the film has, you know, contributed to the world of the film in regards to films about the um, Asian immigrant experience, that have contributed to that fight, to that cause in a positive way, in some way, like to feel like, oh, this film now belongs in a category of films. Um, that part, you know, makes me feel proud, you know, not only myself and um, everyone who worked on it and everyone who supported it. Um, but yeah, it's strange. It's because it's like the film is being received well, and just by default, the attention comes on to me, and people want to talk to me about it. But I go, well, it's almost like the film is his own thing, you know, and the film does speak for itself, and then it's just like I'm just kind of, it's there to be its translator in a way, because the film can't speak beyond what it is its own entity.
So you're the
So
Lorax. You speak for the film.
I am,
There
yeah,
you go.
and so and so it's, you know, this film has given me so much. Like I will forever be indebted to this story and to this movie, and everyone and everything that went into it. Um, but I don't, it hasn't given me the kind of joy and happiness that I thought, and I think some other people on the outside think I might be getting, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. I get it. Well, yeah, no, when you have this experience, it's never going to be exactly what you think it's going to be, and you're going to find the pluses and minuses are in places that you didn't expect. Totally. Now, of course, this film did go very well, so it's not the last film you're ever going to make. You're going to make other films, and I know you're working on some ideas. I know that one is an original piece, another is an adaptation of a novel. What are the differences when you're putting together these two different projects?
What are the differences?
Yeah.
Scale, budget. Um, I mean, the biggest difference is, you know, the original piece. It's me. It's me writing it, you know, in my own spare time. I write because I enjoy writing, and it's characters that I'm creating out of thin air that um that I just really love, and I have no real. It's just the story is grown out of the characters, and that's how I've written things and always written things. It's just I find characters that I can genuinely care for and love, and then I put them in situations and see where the story goes. Um, I try not to think too much about so like the bigger message or the themes, or it just interesting characters that I think can get into some interesting situations, and see how I can get them out of it. Um, and so because it is my own thing, it is, it's character driven. It's a smaller piece, but then the novel, it's the blueprint is there. I'm having to support. I'm having to be of service to um, the foundation that has already been laid out. Um, and I'm as the job title suggests, like I am adapting this story into a film script. So the process is different. It involves other people, involves more people, involves people I haven't worked with before. It involves. I mean, I'm being really vague about it because I
Yeah,
don't think I can talk about it in detail just yet.
totally understood. Yeah.
The details are being worked out still, but yeah, it's a completely different experience. But then once again, I think once we get to actually start to work on it, I think it'll be more or less all the same. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting back to work again. I miss I miss making movies.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you're getting to make more movies. Again, as I said, Riceboy Sleeps, beautiful film, really heartfelt. I again, yeah, that final scene with the scream and everything like that, that made me feel good and sad and good all at the same time, which is what you want from a film. And I feel like that's what audiences are experiencing with this. So I look forward to more people getting to check it out, and look forward to your next projects, man.
Yeah, cool. I hope to deliver soon.
Take your time. Make sure, like again, don't rush it.
No, I'll do all right, but you see so many stories of filmmakers who make their first or second film and it does well, and then you don't see anything from them for like 5 years, 8 years even,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you're like, come on, I've been waiting for your next film. It's like great musicians who have a hit album and then they don't release one for like another 5 years, and you're like, oh, I've been dying for another
Yeah.
album, come on. And so I don't, and but then you hear like why that was the case, and you go, oh, that totally makes sense.
Hmm.
With bigger opportunities comes more obstacles and challenges, because it's not going to be like me just writing something and being like, hey, friends, like let's raise a little bit of money and go make this movie. There's just more challenges and obstacles that you have to overcome. So I'm hoping that everything goes smoothly, and I'll be talking about my new film with people like you in a short time.
Yeah, well, I hope so too, man. That sounds great. Thank you so much for talking with me today, man. I hope you have a great day.